Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning, folks. Welcome to this this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Right along with me this hour. And speaking of cars, what do you drive? What condition is the car that, one of the biggest challenges that I see in the automotive repair industry, both from the service part, that would be me and my team, to the consumer, that would be me and my team, because we're all consumers, but of course you and your car when you go into a service shop. And I got to tell you, that's what I'm here for. I share with you buzzwords that'll help you better communicate with your local service provider on a local level. So that's all the more reason to stay tuned to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you today in part by The Battery Shop on YouTube. Developed by Johnson Controls, The Battery Shop features DIY videos on battery installs, technical tips, and battery technology. It's a great resource for car battery information for you. That's The Battery Shop on YouTube. Check it out. Also, proud to say that Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by our partners at K-Seal, the one-step permanent multi-purpose system for coolant leak repair, including head gaskets, engine blocks, water pumps, and radiators. You can learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. And if you have an old car that is not worth what it would take to repair it due to a head gasket, check out K-Seal. It works. Your calls when I come back. 888-227-2546. Don't touch that dial. Berryman's B12 Chem Tool features HEST, or High Energy Solvent Technology. Using a combination of stronger solvents, HEST technology cleans injectors, carburetors, and combustion chambers. But don't take our word for it. According to Stephen B., Berryman products have been part of my automotive care and maintenance program since 1996. From additives and cleaners to sealants, Berryman products are a must for any gearhead and automotive enthusiast. Learn more about Berryman B12 Chem Tool and other great products at berrymanproducts.com. Spring has sprung, and summer's around the corner, which means road trips to the beach, the lake, Grandma's house, and other favorite vacation spots. Make sure your family's memories aren't made sitting on the side of the road. Do a little preventive maintenance now to avoid trouble ahead. Visit carcare.org to find out how you can best keep your vehicles safe, dependable, and on the road longer. And while you're there, order a free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove box. That's carcare.org. Good morning, Car Clinic listeners nationwide. I've been talking with you about your automobiles for over 25 years now, and I've been servicing vehicles here in my own automotive service shop for over 47. We've won Best Automotive Service Shop, Best Oil Change, and Best Reputation in Automotive Service, and the Torch Award for Ethics. And I'd be honored if you'd vote for my service shop again for Best of the Bay. Here's how. Go to pnj.com. Click on Best of the Bay, look for the professional category, then click on Bobby Likis Car Clinic for Best Automotive Service Shop and Best Oil Change. 3 simple steps. Go to pnj.com, click on Best of the Bay, scroll to Professional Category, click on Bobby Likis Car Clinic for Best Automotive Service Shop and Best Oil Change. I'd appreciate your vote of confidence.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with today's broadcast. I want to welcome you. I hope you had a great week. One of the things that I was going to share with you and will is, how do you know what to do to your automobile? Now, let's say that your automobile is like, for instance, my car, that is in excellent condition. And every time I drive my automobile, I test all the electrical circuits. And when I say circuits, that's not correct. I test all the electrical accessories. Now, what are those accessories? Number one, the start-stop system, of which I'm not particularly fond of. And there's a default that turns that system on every time the car is switched off. So there's a button that's on the right side of the center stack that's a little hard for me to get to, but I have to push that button every time I get in the car to turn off that start-stop system. And I don't do that 100% of the time. And on those occasions where I don't do that, when I pull up to the stoplight, then the engine will go dead. Now, granted, that saves fuel, but but how much does it really save? You could backpedal, and the way you drive, you could save 30 times more fuel than that system will save. But so why do you think that the manufacturers, the OEMs, install start-stop systems on cars? And, for example, they're expensive because the starting system is very robust. The battery for the start-stop system is a separate entity from the battery that drives the car. I bet you didn't know that. And a good example, you could take the start-stop battery out of the car or disconnect the ground side on the start-stop system. Now, granted, there would be a fault code and a light would come on that said you had a fault with the start-stop system. But that system the rest of the automobile would operate as it would even with the start-stop system engaged. I know this for a fact because lo and behold, when my start-stop battery went bad, which by the way, it went bad about 2 or 3 months before the warranty ended, which was 4 years. Now, I still had to buy the battery because when it went bad, it quit working. Well, that was really great for me. It saved me the trouble of having to turn it off. But, I didn't really think about it. And I said, well, I'm going to check that. But because I enjoyed the fact that I didn't have to turn the system off every time I got in the car, I just let it default to not work. And quite candidly, and this is how I communicate with my car and with cars, because I'm a car guy, right? I thought that I had trained my automobile to where it, finally got it, that I didn't want that darn thing to work. True story. And I didn't really question that because I said, well, that may or may not be correct, but I'll take it because I wanted to believe it. Yeah, have you ever, had your car into a shop and what you would like, you don't hear what you'd like to hear. In fact, if you go to a real automotive service shop that does a true straight inspections for your oil change, you're going to get some bad news. At least it doesn't have to be bad news, but that's the way it's going to appear because when the car is being serviced, that's when it should be inspected. In fact, at our car clinic service pre-repair shop, we provide a digital vehicle inspection that, oh, by the way, just so happens includes an oil and filter change. It is the inspection that's really important. Now, why? It's because you have the oil change every 5,000 to 7,000 or whenever. Someone has to look under the hood that has a good eyes, that's a professional, that understands what is happening before it breaks. In other words, if you got a slight oil leak, you need to know about that. Do you need to fix it today? Maybe not. But if you had a slow leak on a tire, you'd want to take care of that. So you need someone, now maybe it's not that simple, but you do need to prioritize. And that's where you get that information from a local, hopefully your local service provider, wherever you're listening to this broadcast, and you trust that person. And when you hear bad news, you don't shoot the messenger. And therein lies, I think, a lot of the difference between, or maybe one of the most important differences between how we run our service shop and how others run their service shop. We let the car do the reporting. Granted, we look at it and we convey what the car tells us to its owner, that would be you. But we didn't make this stuff up. If your engine's leaking oil, it's leaking oil. If a tire's low, the tire's low. If a tie rod in or a ball joint's worn, making noise, it's because you've driven some of the new off, and whenever you drive the new off, you have to put some of the new back on. So it really is that simple. Now, to that end, how often should you have to put new back on your car? Well, we know with tires and brakes and belts, that's kind of ambiguous, belts, because belts are so well made and they continue to improve the quality of belts these days. I don't know about the pulleys. I think the pulleys are pretty well as great as they're going to be. They're aluminum pulleys or steel pulleys, and then they're painted and coated. Of course, the paint and coat wears off, and so it's metal against the rubber, but they're little ribs. That's what a serpentine belt is. It's just a bunch of little 7 or 6 millimeter ribs that are all happen to be like a V8 engine. It's really 8 individual cylinders that are hooked to one crankshaft, if you think about it. In fact, when NASCAR designers and engine builders build engines, they don't build V8 engines. They build them one cylinder at the time. And that's true. They think of it in those terms so they can make as much horsepower out of any one cylinder, because when you put that together with the other 7 cylinders, hey, you got 850 horsepower. Let's go to Texas and take a call from Huey, and then I'll take your call at 888-227-2546, and some more information about buying a car a little bit later in the program. I don't know if you heard of Auto Trader. I'm sure that you may or may not have. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. I know that Brian Moody will be calling in, and we'll talk with him a little later in the program. But right now, it's time for you and your calls at 888-227-2546. Huey has a 07 Ford van from Texas. Huey, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby, for taking this call.
Sure.
Long-time listener. First time calling in.
Well, what took you so long?
I'm a novice mechanic, and I worked in the oil and gas industry. But I have an 07 van that's given me the PO61B. And all of this started with not being able to fill up the fuel, so we found out what was going on there. And then it started giving us the throttle body codes.
Wow, what's a PO61B?
That has to do with the torque performance, I believe. I'm looking at my notes here and
okay.
Diagnostic. It has to do with the internal control torque calculation performance of the car.
So that tells me that, and let's talk about that just for a short here, Huey. That tells me that the computer, and this is all measured by the crankshaft position sensor. Not all, but that's one of the main sensors, if not the main sensor, that tells the computer that the engine is running. And let's say that for a V6 or a V8 engine, is yours an 8 or a 6?
It's a 5.4 liter V8.
A V8, okay. All right, so, well, I already know what's wrong with it, but we'll let's talk about it in just a minute. The engine speed, of course. Let's see. How can I say it? You know, if you were to spin a wheel, and then you ever do it when you're a kid, or you spun a wheel and you grab it and you kept it spinning it faster and faster and faster until you could, and you do that by slapping the wheel with your hand. You see where I'm going here? Okay.
Yes.
Well, each time one of the cylinders fires, it knocks the crankshaft down, pushes the piston down. So if you have one cylinder that has, let's say, 2,000 pounds of pressure, it's going to drive the cylinder down at a certain speed. But if the next cylinder has only 1,000 pounds of pressure, it won't be the same speed because it doesn't have that much power to push. Well, believe it or not, at 2,000 RPM or 3,000 RPM, you would never know because the engine is spinning. But the computer sees the individual piston pushdown, and it records the speed of each individual application of the compression and the firing of that one cylinder. It's really quite amazing to me, as much as I profess to know about engines, and I love engines, always have, and I love the computer controls too. I appreciate the technological the way that's worked. So the point is, Huey, with your V8 engine, one of the cylinders is either misfiring or doesn't have the power that the other cylinders have, and the computer sees a little skip in the get along. You know, it sees it. Oh, wait a minute, there's a challenge here, and that's where the torque comes in, because torque is certainly an engine's ability to turn. And I see that we have Tony and another call coming in, but Huey, you stay right there with me. I've got a hard break. When I come back, I'll take the rest of your call. I've got some great news for you. I believe I know what's wrong with your car. Insurance 101, courtesy of Grundy Insurance. Grundy's agreed value insurance does not deduct for vehicle age or expected wear and tear when evaluating a loss. They know there's a greater likelihood that your collector vehicle's value will increase over time. Grundy also understands the cost to repair or replace your collector car can change. Their collector car policies feature a built-in inflation guard, which in recent years has automatically increased the insured value of one's vehicle by 4%. Learn more at the Insurance 101 section at Grundy.com.
Did you know that birthday parties help build confidence in kids?
Yeah. Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Oh, totally. Did you know that friendly kids have more friends?
Everybody knows that.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. This week, a 98 Jaguar came into the shop with 200,000 miles and grinding noises in the rear. A road test determined both rear axle bearings worn out. Tommy, our ASE certified technician, disassembled both sides and pressed the old bearings off the carriers. Time for new parts. We reached out to our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional and ordered new bearings and seals. These parts had to be an exact match for this vehicle, or we risk having to do the job over. Our O'Reilly Auto Parts professional informed us that all old and new bearings had matching numbers etched on the races, regardless of where they were manufactured. So we knew the new parts would be correct. What a relief. Repair complete, vehicle quiet, and everyone happy. Another great reason why our first call for parts is O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back, folks, to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We're talking with Huey in Texas. So, Huey, with your Ford, here's a typical problem with a Ford 5.4, an 07 especially. Spark plug, a misfire, or coil misfire. And it is, of course, the spark plug and the coil working in unison that, starts the fire and the flame in a cylinder, and that's where the whole combustion process is started. So have you replaced any plugs or coils in that V8 engine?
No, sir. With my scanner, snap-on scanner, I'm seeing one and 3-cylinder misfire.
Right. Okay. All right, here's
also,
what... I'll say, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let me update you a little bit.
Okay.
This van belongs to a neighbor of mine, but anyway, he decided to replace the throttle body, so I got a vehicle with a known good throttle body with the stepper motor and TPS on it also.
Right.
And did fine, drove it around, started dying. I was looking at the scanner, and the P061B came up, and everything else was fine. So came back and checked all the connections at the PCM, did a lot of stuff, but I never did get the misfire anymore. But it is misfiring.
Well, it is because the computer, yes. The computer sees a differential in the fire. Here's what has to be done. It's not quite as simple as it sounds, but let me give you the quick version. You replace all of the coils, and you replace all of the spark plugs. Here's the challenge. That engine has a spark plug. It's a 3-valve head, and I'm almost certain that it is. That engine has those spark plugs that are infamous for breaking off. If you probably know that by now. If you
that is very true.
So I would advise you, because you're helping your neighbor, you don't want to turn out being the bad guy. I would advise you to encourage your neighbor to take it to a certified shop that's been there and done that. We have a process that we use to get those plugs out. And I'll make you a short version. We will use an injector cleaner, and we will clean the injection system, decarbon the injection system, the night before we remove the plugs. And then when we do, we don't finish the cleaning system. We leave the cylinders wet. Now we don't leave them where they're hydraulic, but we leave and we don't go out and drive the vehicle after the cleaning process, which is we go over to the lungs of the engine with a liquid, and it fogs the intake manifold, and you heard me talk about black lung disease, and that's where it cleans out the plenum chamber and the intake runners and what have you. So about 85% through that process, we shut the engine off. And you got to make sure that you don't over ingest any liquid, because you could hydraulic the engine. I know that for a fact. So you want to make sure that doesn't happen. But you also want to make sure that you leave enough of this decarboning agent in the cylinders to soften the carbon that is inside the cylinder. Now, how does it get in the cylinder? Well, it goes through the intake ports. That's what cleans intake ports. What that does is that helps to soften the carbon that is built up on the sheath of the extended spark plug tip, which is about 1 inch long, just under 1 inch long. And what happens when you unscrew the plug, that extended part of that spark plug, which is metal, is just crimped in place, and so the plug comes out, but you're having to imagine that imagine eating a popsicle and you get down to the last little bit and you put the stick in your mouth and you rake off the rest of it, or eating a chicken off a skewer. You get where I'm going? Well, that's what happens when you unscrew the spark plug. It's like a skewer, except the carbon won't come off, and you unscrew the plug and it poop, and then it breaks the plug and it leaves that piece in the cylinder. It's still in the hole, and there's an aftermarket tool that allows you to drill out, or not drill it all the way out, but to drill and extract that piece that breaks off. if you're lucky. If you're not lucky, a piece goes in the motor, you can't get it out, and you got to pull the head apart. So that is the kiss of death. That you just don't want to go there. So we softened that carbon the night before, and then the next morning we loosened the plug. And if you can get the plug to go, like from 12 o'clock, where at any given point, and you move it 5 minutes back, well then tighten it 5 minutes back, and move it 6 minutes, and then back to tight. And then if you can back and forth and rock it back and forth to get it maybe to come a half a thread, just to get enough to get the seat of the plug just off of its seat, where it, where the ferrule, where the chamfer seals on the head. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you can just get that to break, then you take a lubricant, like WD-40 or some EP lubricant, and you spray that in there and let it sit, 3 or 4 minutes. Do all the 8 cylinders. Drink a cup of coffee, come back, and then that almost ensures that you'll get those spark plugs out. And if you're very patient with that process, you'll get those plugs out, and you go back in. And here's what we do. Because we know, and we get a lot of these, we've had a lot of these that come in with, cylinder number 1 misfire, cylinder number 4. So you put one spark plug and one coil on 1, or 1 and 4 or 2, and then the car would come back a week later with number 6. So we don't do it that way. We put all the plugs in and replace all the coils. That's kind of expensive. So as a courtesy to our customers, I suggest, and I did this recently, I suggest to our customers, bring us the vehicle the night before. Before you come up, go by O'Reilly Auto Parts and pick up a set of Excel spark coils. And there are 2 different part numbers. One's for a different valve, and the coils are the same, but the boots have an angle for one head, and they're straight with the other head. And it's just like a 20-degree angle. But I encourage them. That way, the owner is buying the coils at a cheaper price than what we could sell them for from O'Reilly Auto Parts direct, and the Excel is I think a fantastic product. I've used it and it works well. And then we put the spark plugs in, and we supply the spark plugs, and we've really had, I don't know, we've never had to take an engine apart to get a spark plug out, and yet we've had some that break on us. So that's the way we do that, and that's what I would suggest that you do, or at least have a professional do on the car. Any questions?
Yes, Bobby, thank you. That was a very thorough answer, and I've experienced that in the oil and gas industry. I was a maintenance mechanic, and we had to rock and forth back.
Yeah.
Some of the bolts and
takes
stuff,
a lot of patience, doesn't it, Huey?
Takes a lot of patience.
Yes, sir.
And I'm a firm believer in PB Blaster. But one question, a recommendation for spark plug, and I do use Excel quite extensively on my cars around here I work on. I do Corvettes quite a bit.
Well, when I think of spark plugs, I think NGK. They're the ignition specialists.
Well, you read my mind.
Really?
Yes, you did.
Well, that's and that's something that here's a gentleman, folks, that understands and has been there and done that. Granted, he said he's a novice technician, but as novice as you may claim to be, you know the quality of parts. And I don't sell in NGK. I do in my shop, but they're not a sponsor of ours. Excel is not a sponsor of ours. But I will tell you, we use those particular brands in our shop, and if I had your Ford, that's what I would use. I would use as I said, the NGK company, they are ignition specialists in their own right. And then Excel, of course, makes terrific coils. And I like to get them from O'Reilly Auto Parts because they come in one box. All of the coils come in one box. So what does that mean? Well, it means that box was boxed at one time at the factory, so all of the coils would be in the same batch.
Exactly.
And to me, what does that mean? Well, you know what that means. It's like buying a set of tires and you got 4 different tires with 4 different born-on dates. That doesn't work for me. Anyway, I got other calls, but Huey, it sure is great. Where do you live in Texas, by the way?
I live in Tyler, the Rose Capital, they call it, home of Earl Campbell, and a lot of East Texas football players.
Right. Well, congratulations on the football, expertise. I was born and reared in Birmingham, and then I moved to Chicago. That was a culture shock. And then I ended up in Florida. But my number one team is Alabama, and my number two is Florida State. So there you go. Hey, thanks for your call. It's nice to talk to you. Let me know when you get to the other side if you got all the plugs out. I'm sure that you'll be able to do it because you got it.
Yes, sir. I will definitely get back with you and let how everything turned out.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you for your show, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. What a great conversation. Let's go to another one. Tony, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding there. I appreciate you.
No problem, Bobby. Hey, I have a quick question. I've heard you talk before about chips for engines to get better performance and stuff out of them.
Sure.
I have a 2005 GMC 3500 pickup truck dually with a Duramax diesel engine in it. I'm the second owner of it. It has just over 200,000 miles. It's running great.
Right.
The only thing I've ever done to it outside of routine maintenance is a brake booster that developed a leak and had that replaced. But I'm getting ready to go on the road, and I'm going to be towing a trailer. 14-foot dual axle Wells cargo enclosed trailer with probably about 1,500 pounds of weight in it is probably what I'll be towing. Right now, my truck, if I go on the road with it and I keep it if I set the cruise control at 66 to 68 miles an hour,
right,
I'm getting about 18 miles per gallon in that truck.
Okay.
When I tow this trailer, is there a chip I can put in there that if I'm towing that weight, that I'll be able to get that same type of mileage if I'm keeping those RPMs at 1,900 or so at that speed?
Well, I wouldn't.
Chip that'll do that?
Yeah, there's not a chip that will do that. There is no such thing as maintaining the same miles per gallon when you increase the load of the engine, unless you offset, and that's what you're asking. So the answer to that, it depends. But I would now if you listen to this program, you know that I endorse the Diablo Sport, which is a program tuner for GM cars and Ford and Chrysler and Jeep. If I owned your diesel, I would automatically buy a Diablo Sport tuner, and I would tune that engine. But there's a difference and gosh, I have a break. Let me ask you, Tony, to stay right there. And folks, don't touch the dial. I'll come back. We'll finish this conversation and take your call to 888 Car Clinic when I come back. We recently sat down with Johnson Controls Global Brand Manager Joe Meyer to discuss the advantages of AGM batteries. Joe talked about the many different factors that can affect battery performance. Also touched on what differentiates Johnson Controls AGM batteries from other manufacturers. Let's hear from Joe.
There are a variety of factors that influence the performance of a battery, including your driving style, driving environment, and distance, as well as climate. Basic habits that we may not think about actually have a substantial impact on your battery. So, for example, making frequent stops while running errands, driving in rush hour traffic, additionally driving on rough roads, or even driving aggressively with fast accelerations and hard braking, those all put wear on your battery. With its compressed cell design and glass mat separators, our AGM battery is precision engineered with a more robust design to excel in these conditions.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's vehicles, and Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries. Learn more at autobatteries.com. That's autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes. Good morning, Car Clinic in Pensacola. I've been talking with you about your automobiles for over 25 years now, and I've been servicing vehicles here in my own automotive service shop for over 47. We've won Best Automotive Service Shop, Best Oil Change, and Best Reputation in Automotive Service, and the Torch Award for Ethics. And I'd be honored if you'd vote for my service shop again for Best of the Bay. Here's how. Go to pnj.com, click on Best of the Bay, look for the professional category, then click on Bobby Likis Car Clinic for Best Automotive Service Shop and Best Oil Change. 3 simple steps. Go to pnj.com, click on Best of the Bay, scroll to Professional Category, click on Bobby Likis Car Clinic for Best Automotive Service Shop and Best Oil Change. I'd appreciate your vote of confidence.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great program today. I'll take your car questions soon, so call me at 888-227-2546. That's 888 Car Clinic. On the Car Clinic hotline with us now is Laura Adams, Safety Analyst for Drivers, ED. The 2019 Distracted Driving and Social Media Report by DriversEd.com uncovered that 55% of surveyed participants admit to checking social media while driving behind the wheel. Really? And 25% said they even recorded a video while behind the wheel. Unbelievable. Laura, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I just can't believe what I'm reading.
Thank you so much for having me back. I know the numbers are shocking, and we really want to highlight the fact that this is a growing problem. We're seeing a lot more social media use by drivers, and I do think that the numbers that you talked about are probably conservative. You know, there are probably a lot of people doing these types of bad behaviors that are not owning up to it. So this is a growing problem, especially the video portion. That's something that we've really seen increase year over year. Video watching 26%, and that's broken down between Facebook videos, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, etc. And we've also got people, 25%, who say they have recorded video while they're behind the wheel. And I have to assume that video recording is probably for posting on social media. So all of this is on the rise, and it really poses a lot of new problems, when we talk about distracted driving. We just have a whole new set of ways to be distracted as drivers that we need to be vigilant about preventing.
Well, I have other questions, but I want to make sure that our Car Clinic listeners and viewers understand where they can go to get more information. So that's driversed.com, folks. That's the site that you'll want to check out. So after today's broadcast, you make sure you take a look at that site, and you can download. I guess these files are going to be downloadable, Laura?
There are a lot of articles there, many that are highlighting the surveys that we've done. We do a lot of in-depth studies about different types of driving safety issues. So there are a lot of tips, tools, resources there, articles, and reviews about our studies. So I would encourage your listeners to take a look. And, of course, what we do is driving. We are the Internet's #1 online driving school. So if you've got any need for driving, whether you're a brand new driver looking to get a license, or maybe you got a traffic ticket and you're looking to get your points removed from your record by doing an online course, or even if you're looking for an auto insurance discount, many of the courses are going to qualify you for a discount with your carrier. So there's a variety of education there for drivers of all different ages and stages.
What about surveys that cover other areas of concern? What other surveys are available, and can you share with us?
Yes, so we have done many that are related to texting while driving. We've taken a look at also a variety of things like alcohol and drug use, particularly during the holidays. That's a time of the year that is particularly dangerous, December in particular, when folks are just partying and celebrating, and we know and see that car crashes rise during that time, and also all kinds of violations for DUIs and even drug use. So we try to highlight these issues, not to scare people, but just to bring the statistics to light so that you're aware, of what's happening. And even if you're a great driver and you're never drinking and driving and you're never using social media or on your phone and texting, I think it's important to be aware that many of the drivers around you are doing these very dangerous behaviors. And so that means we've got to be more defensive as drivers and really be a lot more careful and cautious. So again, we're not trying to scare people, but really just bringing these issues to light and hoping that people will use the information to maybe change some of their behavior and the habits that we use just day to day when we're driving. I think one of the best things you can do is just put your cell phone in the glove box when you get in the car. Don't even let it be a distraction. Don't let it alert you with those incoming text messages and phone messages. Put it somewhere that it's not going to distract you, and make a commitment to get from point A to point B as safely as possible without getting on your phone.
We're talking with Laura Adams, safety analyst for drivers ed. So, Laura, as I understand, and you correct me if the numbers aren't correct, but 58% of some of your surveys, or the survey respondents, believe that legalized recreational marijuana leads to increased danger on the roads. Share with us some information about legalized marijuana, or at least about what the public believes.
Right. So a lot of people are under the impression that it's just fine to use marijuana and then drive. In fact, about a quarter of our survey respondents didn't even know that it's illegal to do that. So we want to make sure that we're clear that even if marijuana is legal for, let's say, medical use or recreational use where you live, it is still illegal to drive while under the influence. Just like with alcohol, it's legal to use it, but you're not supposed to be imbibing to an excess and having those elevated blood alcohol levels when you get behind the wheel. With marijuana, it's a little different because there are not as many, or really there are at this point, no detection devices that can really be used. And so I think a lot of people maybe feel like they can get away with using marijuana because there, for instance, isn't a breathalyzer that can detect if you're high or not. So this is a challenge. But the bottom line is that if an officer does suspect that you are using marijuana or you're under the influence of any type of drug, even prescription medications that are causing you to drive erratically, you can be given a DUI or DWI, depending on where you live. And that is going to come with some pretty severe consequences, just like with alcohol. You could have your license taken away, and it's going to be expensive to deal with.
So that leads me to another question. What if, let's say that I'm a potential passenger, and I don't know if you have any studies regarding this, but I'm needing a ride, and I'm going to get in an automobile, but I know the driver that picked me up is high. I mean, would I get in the car? Well, the answer to that is no, because there's totally no control there. But share with us some of the information about the survey that tells how people feel about riding with other people who are high.
Yes. So, in fact, many people, and this has happened with, let's say, getting into an Uber car or a Lyft car with a driver. And, what we've found is that many people are pretty hesitant to say anything to those Uber drivers. We found only about half of the survey respondents said that they would ask the driver to, stop doing what they're doing or to stop. About 30% said they wouldn't say anything to the driver, but they would report it after the fact. And about 21% said they would do nothing. So this is something we want to be aware of. You definitely should not get into a vehicle with a driver that you believe is impaired in any way. And it's perfectly fine if you do get into an Uber to ask to be, let out and to find another driver. And certainly you want to report these incidents. If you do complete a ride, let the company know. Many apps have a very simple way to rate and review your driver. So being honest and rating them will help make sure that those drivers are not getting rides and that they stay off the road. So again, this is something we just have to be in control of as the passenger and make those decisions and take charge of the situation. And you're perfectly well within your rights and ability to do so.
I hear you. I'm 100% on board, Laura. We are talking with Laura Adams, safety analyst with Driver's Ed. So, Laura, in the driversed.com study, I understand you found that 21% of drivers admit to driving after smoking marijuana. Do you think this number will increase as marijuana becomes legal in more states?
I do. Unfortunately, I feel like people just don't view marijuana use and driving the same way that we view alcohol use and driving. So there's an education gap there. And the reality is anytime that you're impaired, no matter what the drug, it is going to affect your ability to make decisions. It is going to affect your reaction time. It's going to affect every aspect of how you drive. So, in fact, some people even say, well, gosh, when I'm high, I feel like I drive better than when I'm sober, and so my reaction to that is I don't think you're a good judge of your driving behavior when you are high. You may feel that you're a better driver, but the reality is you are impaired. So unless you're sober or legally sober, you're probably not going to be in the best situation to react to unexpected situations. And that's really the bottom line. If you are slow to react, you've got that, cognitive impairment, you're just more likely to get into an accident. That's going to be more harmful to yourself and to all of the vehicles and the drivers around you.
Just one more question, and as we were talking and I was listening to all the information that you share with our Car Clinic listeners, is there more of a stigma around driving drunk or driving high? And if that's the case, whatever the answer is going to be there, how do you suggest that we raise awareness as to how dangerous this behavior is? And folks, from a standpoint of me, as Laura, as you were talking about riding with someone and being able to say, hey, stop, let me out. My words were, not on my watch. I'm not going to ride with anyone that is going to put my life in jeopardy. I mean, there's just where's the upside? So how do we raise awareness, and what's the stigma differential between drunk driving and high driving?
Yes, I do think that there is more of a stigma about drunk driving. A lot of that has to do with the fact that there has been a lot of public education and, commercials about driving drunk that have really raised awareness. And, I know a lot of young people who would never drive drunk, but I have a feeling that some would probably drive high. And I think that there just is an education gap that we're going to have to overcome. So that's part of the mission for us at driversed.com is really just to get the word out that you really want to think of it the same way that we think about drunk driving. Drugged driving is just as dangerous. So I think that when we have more education, maybe even more public awareness about it, and that's going to happen as more states legalize marijuana. I don't think there's any getting around the fact that it's going to be more of an issue for driving and figuring out who's driving while high and what that tolerance level, is there an acceptable tolerance level or not, and how is that measured? It's going to come to the forefront. So I think we'll see a lot more about it, but we're just in the beginning stages, and for us, we're trying to shape opinion, around it so that folks do understand that it is just as dangerous.
Well, I agree. And just one final question before I let you go. And I'd like to, you mentioned something earlier about someone that had a ticket and cleaned their driver's record. Just briefly touch on how and where on your site that's available, because for those out there that already know what we're talking about and already been there, done that, and suffered the consequences, how can driversed.com help them to recover and go on cleanly from here?
It's very easy. So if you go to driversed.com, what you're first going to see is the opportunity to select your state where you live. You'll also see all of the different types of courses that we offer. So what you're looking for is called Traffic School. So at the top of the site, you can select your state or go directly to Traffic School. and see what's available. And that is so important because if you've got a moving violation, if you get to traffic school quickly, not only is that going to remove the points from your license, or at least a portion of the points, depending on the severity of your violation, but that's going to prevent the auto insurance company from seeing your violation and raising your auto insurance rate. So time is of the essence there to make sure that your rate doesn't rise. And even if the rate does rise, you can still work to get those points taken off, and perhaps the next renewal of your auto insurance, that will come down for you.
Great information. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the best thing about it, you can do it 24/7 online whenever it's convenient for you. So there's really no excuse not to do it.
Agreed, 100%. Laura Adams, safety analyst, driver's ed. Laura, thanks again for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. It's terrific information, and I think we can pause here and just remind our Car Clinic listeners and viewers that there are so many dangers and there are so many circumstances that you don't have control. So where you have and where you, and of course, control is knowledge, and knowledge is available at driversed.com. Laura, thank you again for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you.
That's good information, folks, and I'll tell you, if you, like I, are concerned, I'm specifically concerned when I drive if I'm at a traffic light, say, because you're very vulnerable there. I look in my rearview mirror always to make sure. I don't know what I would do if somebody came barreling down on me, because chances are if I had to accelerate, I would run out in front of someone else because it'd be at a traffic light. So regardless, whether you're driving or you're riding, you just pay attention to others, because there's always opportunity for accidents out there. And it's a great website. Go to driversed.com and check it out. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts today, where you'll get better parts, better prices every day. O'Reilly Auto Parts has the parts that you need to get the job done right, folks. And stores are stocked with high-quality parts and accessories at guaranteed low prices, and the store's well-trained professionals are standing by, ready to help. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Remember, another great hour of Bobby Likis coming up. Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Today's Repair Spotlight is for gasoline-powered engines with 60,000 plus miles. At this age and high mileage, vehicles can develop irritating small oil leaks that can make a mess and ultimately cause serious damage to engine and chassis components. The solution? Berryman's B60 High Mileage Oil System Rejuvenator. It's simple to use and safe for engine components like catalytic converters and oxygen sensors. Berryman B60 High Mileage Oil System Rejuvenator cleans and protects the crankcase and engine oil system on all gas-powered vehicles, and conditions and revitalizes seals and gaskets to help stop oil leaks. Berryman B60 High Mileage Oil System Rejuvenator contains zinc-based ZDDP and molybdenum moly to help fight friction, heat, and wear. It helps prevent sludge formation to maximize engine performance and life. Don't put up with those pesky oil leaks. Add some Berryman B60 to your motor oil and add another level of protection for your engine. Learn more about Berryman B60 and other great products at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the cultivated section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the cultivated section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your Cur.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1 minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And I'm proud to be your host, Bobby Likis. Just consider me your personal car consultant. Thanks for tuning in today. And just remember that every Saturday from 10 till noon for, 28 years, here we go again, from 10 till noon Eastern Time, we come to you and I share with you information that you just can't get anywhere else. And that information comes from an educational background, an automotive background, some 48 years worth in the automotive repair and service industry. That's my background. So I'll give you buzzwords and I'll help you not only better communicate with your local service shop, but I can help you. I can't keep it, but I can help you keep your car in your garage and out of mine. Now, granted, a couple of times a year, you need to go to a service shop and have your car inspected. And while they're inspecting your car, you can have the oil and filter change there at the same time. Don't necessarily set yourself up to take a car in for oil and filter change. Take it in for an inspection that includes an oil and filter change. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by the Car Care Council, our partners. Summer's around the corner, folks. Just make sure that your family's memories aren't made sitting on the side of the road. Follow the 3 P's of car care: prepare, prevent, and plan. Learn more about all at carcare.org. Learn more about your car right here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic, 888 Car Clinic. When I come back, like us, you'll love us. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Why is the thermostat so important? Cooling system regulates engine temperature and helps prevent overheating. While it's comprised of several components, the thermostat plays a critical role with efficient cooling system operation. It must regulate coolant flow properly to maintain a specific engine operating temperature, in addition to providing quick warm-up. Motorrad's new stainless steel thermal element UltraStat is unmatched for corrosion resistance. Its revolutionary Reax wax mixture provides quicker reaction time. The UltraStat also features bilinear valve technology, which prevents thermal shock to cooling system components, gradually increasing coolant flow versus instant maximum flow found in traditional thermostats. The UltraStat precisely controls engine temperature to ensure the lowest emission standards, maximum fuel efficiency, and terrific interior cabin comfort. The Motorrad UltraStat line is the perfect thermostat upgrade option with coverage for over 160 million vehicles on the road today. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. We recently had an 09 Honda Pilot come into the shop with 169,000 miles on the odometer. The vehicle owner said the cabin was starting to smell like coolant, and he was concerned. Upon closer inspection, we found a heater core leak. Choices were to keep the vehicle and make a repair, which at best is half a day's labor plus parts, or sell the vehicle and buy a different used car that could have its own set of problems. We presented a third option, K-Seal. You've heard me talk about K-Seal before. Well, I don't just talk about it, we actually use the product in our service shop. It's a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Other sealers use sodium silicate, which has the tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Our customer went with K-Seal, and 1 month later, no more leak. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I want to welcome KDET, a new car clinic affiliate. KDET is 9:30 a.m. live, local, and reaching out in Center, Texas. So a shout out to KDET General Manager Lori Alvis and to the Rockin' Program Director Jesse James. Okay, Jesse Jacobs. I'll call him Jesse James if I please. We're mighty proud to be on your air, folks, there. And for all of you KDET listeners, you can call me from 10 till noon Eastern Time every Saturday morning. Although this program that you're listening to right now, if you're listening to it Saturday afternoon, we've already broadcast because we're live 10 till noon Eastern Time. But you can call 888 the Car Clinic between 10 and noon and get your question answered. Then you can listen a little later on in the day and find your question and listen to yourself on the air. Let's go to New York, take a call from Alan, and then open the phones for your calls at 888-227-2546. Alan, you called in early. Thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Well, thank you for taking my call.
Sure. What can I do for you?
I have a 94 Corvette, and I'm having a problem with a leaky master cylinder around the sensor wires. It's a car I recently bought in October. I haven't driven a lot. So last week I was driving it, and the brake fluid, I got a brake light, and I opened the hood. It was smoking a little bit, and it was dripping brake fluid. And by the time I got home, I was almost out of pedals.
Wow. So is it leaking from the reservoir?
Yeah, there's a little plug right under the master cylinder,
right,
and it seems to be leaking right around there, yeah.
Well, that's either a brake light switch or, well, if it's on the master cylinder, it won't be a reservoir or a level switch, because the level switch is mounted on the plastic reservoir on the top of the master cylinder. But if that is a hydraulic switch, then you can just replace that switch.
Okay.
And in other words, Alan, and different cars have different structural, layouts. So that's why I don't know exactly what that switch is. But it's either a brake light switch or it's a pressure switch of some sort. So it's really odd that it would be leaking. But if it is, you definitely want to replace that switch. One of the things that you want to do is clean the contacts when you do replace the switch, because that's brake fluid and it will soften the coating of the wires and the insulation. But because brake fluid is hygroscopic, which means it mixes with water, you don't use any other compound but just plain water to clean that wire off, because that will dissolve and flush away whatever fluid is on there. And then what I like to do is, of course, we use like a white lube, which is really great stuff. But whatever you have in your garage at home, you can use some kind of a paste electrical contact, and then that will make sure that the new switch and the old wire stay in contact, and that will take care of it. Do the brakes, other than the fact that you're losing fluid, the brakes work okay?
They worked fine before, yeah. I just bought the car last October. I've probably driven it 700 miles.
Yeah. Yeah, well, obviously not your primary driver. How many miles on it? How many miles on this 94?
Just turned 40,000.
Wow. Wow. Where did you find that car?
Yeah. I found it in Atlanta, Georgia.
And how did you go about, did you want specifically a 94 Corvette?
Well, I really wanted a C5, but I saw the C4, and it's sort of a rare color.
Right.
It's a copper color, and they only made 116 that color.
Wow.
So it was in such great shape, I just had to buy it.
So what have you done to that car to ensure that it is in great shape since you bought it?
I took it to a friend of mine who owns a garage and had him look it over, everything over on it. And he owns 3 Corvettes also.
Oh, great.
And, yeah. And he did a visual inspection for me, checked all the belts and the tires, got brand new tires on, checked the brakes. So I had him do a visual inspection.
Well, it sounds to me like you've got a handle on it. So for sure, I would have thought that he would have you replace all of the fluids in the automobile, like the brake fluid and the transmission fluid and the differential and the engine and the cooling system, because any used car, especially a 94 model automobile, the fluids are that's the easiest to replace. You get the biggest bang for the buck by maintaining the fluids in the vehicle. So you might want to talk with him about that and get him to go through the vehicle bumper to bumper and replace the fluids to make sure that you have a starting point. Do you understand where I'm going?
Absolutely. In fact, I had that conversation last week, and I'm going to take it in on Monday.
Okay, good.
And have him just change all the fluids plus the radiator.
Yes, sir.
Check all the belts, make sure there's no cracks on any of the belts or anything.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks so much for your call, and congratulations on finding the car that you really wanted to find, or at least one that filled the bill for you.
Well, thank you very much for taking my call.
You're welcome, Alan. Bye-bye now. See you. 888-227-2546. We go to Nebraska and take a call from Al. Al, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Hi, good morning, Bobby. We had you down here in Kearney a long time ago, and I got to meet you in person. And however, I just wanted to reach out to you today.
Okay.
I've got an opportunity to buy a 2015 Audi Q5. It's got that TDI diesel in it. It's a 3.0 liter.
Right.
And it's got 5,200 miles on it. I just wanted to get your opinion of that engine.
Well, Audi makes high-performance vehicles, bumper to bumper. They drive, they're taut, they perform, they stop, they start, they steer. One of the only reservation that I have is the TDI engine, and pardon me, and because they have a propensity to build carbon. So if you'll exercise that vehicle and drive it more briskly, it will last longer than if you just, drive it around town there in Kearney at normal speed. So when you're going onto the on-ramp on the interstate, then, nail it and let it RPM. It likes that. And then also, because that is a TDI, you probably would do well to have a local shop there in Kearney, or a shop of your choice, to perform what I call a lung or injection cleaning service. And by that, I'm saying the emissions of that engine and the oil vapors that accumulate in the lungs of that engine are the only thing that comes to mind to me that is a detriment. Now, not because it's an Audi, because a lot of diesel engines, and Ford especially, the EGR valves on Fords, you can't believe the emissions and how those emissions that give problems a lot of times because people don't know to service them, because the car runs fine, and then it gets to the point where the check engine light comes on. But I don't have any reservations about that vehicle at all. I would change the oil in it no more than 7,500 miles. Always use synthetic oil.
Okay.
I would do the induction system service at the latest every 30,000 miles. No later than 30,000 miles. And if you only drive 5,000 miles a year, I would do it every couple of years. How many miles do you drive a year?
Oh, this car will probably get driven about 12,000 miles a year.
Okay, then I would say every 2 years, have a local shop perform an induction system cleaning service to keep the lungs of that engine out, because those engines, as any diesel engine does, do carbon up and need to be cleaned out. And there's no, see, the fuel goes directly into the cylinder. So all the passageways, the lungs of the engine, the intake part of the engine has a mixture of, if it has EGR system, exhaust gas, particulate, and oil vapors from the positive crankcase system, and that's what gives a problem. Other than that, those cars are bulletproof. They really are. Now,
okay,
had this car had 115,000 miles and was 10 years old, I'd steer you away from the car.
Yeah.
Because
well,
as they get,
it only has 5,200 miles on it, so
you would be hard pressed, Al, to find any car with 5,000 miles on it today. I mean, I say today, from 2015 and up, 2010 and up, that would not be a good buy, because 5,000 miles is like practically 0 miles, and this is what year did you say the car was? 15?
It's 2015, right?
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, I presume it's been sitting in a garage and not being driven much there. Did you buy it in Kearney?
Well, no, it's actually a dealership in Omaha, Nebraska, and I think they had those issues with, I don't know if with the emissions or what it was with diesels, and
yes.
And then they, they couldn't sell that car, so actually they had 4 of them down there when I was looking over the last week. So
well, you can take advantage.
This is the one that I brought back to Kearney just to try it out.
Well, you can take advantage of the fact that that you're right, because a lot of people that owned those cars when VW got caught and Audi was part of that deal, they came to me and I asked them, and he said, "Well, I'm not letting the dealer touch my car. I don't want them to touch it." So you are the recipient of a good deal. So congratulations. More calls coming up when I come back, folks. Don't touch that dial. Why CarStar? Today's vehicles offer comforts and conveniences never imagined 20 years ago. Backup cameras, entertainment systems, start-stop technology, the list goes on. These technologies help avoid accidents. But what happens after a crash? Growth in electronic vehicle content adds to the collision repair cost and complexity. Damage a side view mirror or paint a bumper, and you may change the trajectory of that sensor. Adaptive headlights are another example. They actually turn the corner with you as you're turning the corner. The price for these headlights can reach $2,000. Now, more than ever, it's important to follow automaker guidelines for vehicle repairs. Don't compromise vehicle safety. CarStar is North America's largest multi-shop operator of independently owned repair facilities. CarStar delivers consistently high-quality repairs and the industry's highest customer satisfaction ratings. At CarStar, they don't just repair cars, they repair your car. Learn more at carstar.com. Folks, recently a 99 Chevrolet Blazer came into the shop. The owner was having problems with hesitation upon acceleration. He'd already changed out several parts: spark plugs, wires, ignition coil, mass airflow sensor, fuel filter, and the air filter element. He even changed the thermostat and coolant temperature sensor. Still had the same problem after putting a lot of money in this car, and he was frustrated. We dug a little deeper, cleaned the throttle body, and checked for trouble codes. No codes. So we recommended Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Carbon deposits and dirty fuel injector nozzles are a common problem with drivability in late model engines. We also recommended a higher quality gasoline. The customer noticed improvement on the first day, and only a few days and a few hundred miles later, the problem was completely gone. Berryman B12 Chem Tool features HEST, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question, if you have a car question, it's better to ask me than to wait until you go to your service shop. That way you won't feel like you don't know what you're asking. Does that make sense? And if it doesn't make sense, you wait till you take your car into a shop and you don't know the question to ask. Then you'll be in a position to say, gosh, I wish I had called Bobby and asked him. Now, I don't know all the answers, folks, but what I can give you are buzzwords that will help you to better understand how your car operates. Why? So that when you go to a service shop, you'll know the right question to ask and you can interact with that individual. Let's go to Oregon and take a call from Tim. Tim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bobby, I love your show, man. I try to catch it every week.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that, man.
I recently developed a blown head gasket in my 91 Ford Ranger. It's an older truck, but it went right through DEQ within the last year. They said I had great numbers. I just really enjoy the truck. It's very economical, the whole thing. It's the six-cylinder 2.9.
Okay.
Now, my question for you is, this happened very recently and quickly. The engine was always so quiet, but then it started developing the sound, and I checked the oil, and it's got the evil water oil mix going there. And so I essentially got it home and have been questioning people about it and stuff, and just kind of get some ideas. But essentially, I'm sure it has a blown head gasket, and now it's got some real noise issues going just over the course of a day and a half. And my question is, from your knowledge, something like that, is it more economical to have somebody tear into the engine and repair the blown head gasket, etc., or to just find another used engine and put it in as a replacement?
That's a question that can only be answered, and that's a great question, Tim. I'm glad you called me, but here's what has to be done first. There has to be enough investigation to determine if it's an internal head gasket, or it could be something so simple. A noise aside, let's put the noise aside. That disturbs me, and I'm concerned about that for you. But with regard to the water in the oil, obviously there's a leak internally because those two fluids should never mingle. But you could have an intake manifold gasket, because water travels through the intake manifold, and the manifold seals the oil galley underneath its, the V6 there. So you could have an intake manifold that would cause water. You could have an intake casting crack or porosity. So there are a lot of reasons that water could be in the oil. Coolant could be in the oil, other than head gasket. Now, having said that, here's the challenge and my concern for you. You take it to a shop and say, I'd like for you to investigate this, and then they take the engine apart. Now you're relegated to have them fix the shop. I mean, the car's on the operating table, more or less, if you think of it that way, and they've got it torn down. So you're at their mercy with regard to what next steps, because if they say, okay, it's going to be $5,000, and you say, well, I don't think the truck's worth $5,000. It may well be worth $5,000 to you over the long haul, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But you may want to buy some time. You may not be ready to do this at the time, and you may feel like, well, gosh, I wish I had known this ahead of time. So you really need to know more about what's wrong internally. Now, having said that, if you had called me last week and you had no noise, then I would have recommended a stop leak, because I use K-Seal, and it's a fantastic product, and this is a perfect opportunity for you as an owner to use a stop leak in the cooling system. Having said that, and it's a permanent fix, but K-Seal is a great product, but you have a noise factor, so there may be internal damage that's already occurred that, of course, takes mechanical replacement parts to fix. Help me to understand and describe the noise for me.
Boy, well, it's kind of funny because, once again, this was the quietest truck engine I've ever had.
Right.
Then,
yeah, they're great engines.
Oh, they really are. And essentially, I hauled some weight in it, but I've hauled weight in it before, no big deal. And I noticed it had been losing coolant a little bit, so I was keeping the coolant and water in there, whatever. So just over the course of, like, say, 20, 30 minutes, I drove up to a business, and it just started making, the more sound, and it got louder and louder, and then eventually I just nursed it home, and it's been sitting in the house ever since then. But I've started up since then, and once again, it runs. It runs fine. It's not like where it won't. The engine is so badly damaged it won't even turn over or start.
Right.
It certainly runs, but I can't determine whether it's top end or lower end noise.
Yeah, right.
It's just shocking that it went from quiet to really, really loud.
Well, let me say.
Not necessarily.
Let me say this:
slapping cylinders, but just where it's just and it just freaks me out to even have it running.
So think about that. The speed of a rocker arm is faster than the speed of a piston. A piston, like a rod knock, which would be the kiss of death, and I'd say replace the engine. Period. Don't even go in there. If it had you accelerate in that rod knock. But if it's got a tick 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 tick, that could be a rocker arm or a lifter that is because of the condensation. Well, condensation, no, because of the pure water that's in there, the coolant, and it's stopped up the oil galley, and it's disrupted the little small, tiny orifices in a lifter. So what you could do is you could take a mechanic's stethoscope. This is what you can do temporarily, okay? So that you'll have a little more information, and because you need to, this has to be a stepped process. So the first thing you want to do is go to a parts store and buy a mechanic's stethoscope, and it looks just like a doctor's stethoscope, except it has a metal probe on the end of it. And crank the engine, let it idle, and touch the valve cover. And you can go to one cover or the other. And if it's a rod or a bottom end, it's going to be the same on either side. But if it's a lifter, whichever side it is on is going to be louder. So you'll hear it on the side where it's not, because it'll transfer the noise, tick, 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 tick. But if you go to the noise where it is, you'll really get that tick. And then you'll have a better idea, and also the speed of it. When you ease the engine up, it's going to tick. The speed of it and the relevant to the RPM is where maybe a trained ear could help you. I mean, if you had the phone next to it, and I could listen to it and tell you. But the bottom line, so you get a local technician to listen to it. Because ultimately, here's what you could do. If it's determined that you're going to have to replace the engine, then you could drain the oil, flush the engine. How do you flush the engine? Well, you can use a flushing agent, or you can put 3 quarts or 3.5 quarts of regular oil, crank it up and run it, and then dump that out, and do it again and dump that out, and then put a new filter and new oil, and then put a stop leak in it and drive it with a stop leak. And if it solves the problem and it goes a year, you've gotten another year out of the vehicle. So that is one option. That's a hopeful option, and for that end, I would recommend the K-Seal, which I would use in this particular case, because this is a lot of money to replace the engine. Now, that's ultimately, if you have to replace the engine, you want to buy an engine from a recycler that gives you a year's warranty on the engine. Don't look for the best deal. Look for someone that has an engine that he or knows is good enough that they'll and you'll pay a couple of extra $100. Well, that's no big deal if you amortize that over the cost of repair. And yeah, the 2.9 was a good. They did have some cam bearing issues, and the cam bearing would twist, and it would stop the flow of oil, and that was on the 2.9. I'm thinking which is what you have. So you want to make sure that any used engine that goes in that vehicle, you look down into the oil filler cap or pull the valve cover off and see what quality of oil is there, and see if it's all coked up. If it is, you don't want a motor that's has a bunch of gook in it. You know where I'm going?
Sure.
Okay. All right, my friend.
Well, do you have one more second here?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I tried to drain the oil. I did drain the oil just to see if I could even get new oil in there to where it would have some viscosity, and I could drive it down to the shop, and I drained it out, and it's just still very, very loud. But is it usual for a blown head gasket just to go bonkers just as quickly as that did? And is it like you say, I mean, you don't know until I really get into it a little bit, and I'll definitely have somebody check into the noise and where it's coming from. But to actually peel it apart and repair the head gasket, and could the noise be caused simply by, the oil water mix by one cylinder not getting any viscosity to that cylinder? Is that what the likely cause of it, just the sudden noise is?
That is the reason that I want you to listen to the rocker arm, because a lifter could be damaged or could be stopped up because of that and be the only lifter that's bad. Now, obviously, you wouldn't go in there and put one lifter in it, but that would help you to better know the overall condition of that engine. But ultimately, until you take it apart, you're not going to know. But I still say it warrants, it being your situation, warrants using a stethoscope to see if it's upper cylinder noise or deep noise in the bottom end. If it's in the bottom end, you're done. If it's in the bottom end, you got water, you're done. Don't let anybody fool you. You cannot restore. The new has been driven off this vehicle. It has damage inside, and it will never be the same. And if a shop says they can rebuild your engine, don't even go there, because it just doesn't make sense. So anyway, go get a stethoscope. Yeah.
What's a ballpark on a blown head gasket repair if it's only that? Something like that.
I don't know that I'd repair the blown head gasket. You'd have to pull the head off and see if the cylinder's damaged. See, it depends on how far. It depends on how far you drove it and how hot it got. Because the only reason a head gasket would be a lift off the block, the head will be if the head's warped and it takes the pressure off the gasket and the gasket blows. I mean, except for time, and of course this is a 91 model automobile. So again, there are so many scenarios here, but until you take it apart, you're not going to know. A ballpark, anything less than $4,000 with a guaranteed engine is a good investment, installed out the door with new mounts and oil. I'll be back. Good morning, Car Clinic listeners nationwide. I've been talking with you about your automobiles for over 25 years now, and I've been servicing vehicles here in my own automotive service shop for over 47. We've won Best Automotive Service Shop, Best Oil Change, and Best Reputation in Automotive Service, and the Torch Award for Ethics. And I'd be honored if you'd vote for my service shop again for Best of the Bay. Here's how. Go to pnj.com, click on Best of the Bay, look for the professional category, then click on Bobby Likis Car Clinic for Best Automotive Service Shop and Best Oil Change. 3 simple steps. Go to pnj.com, click on Best of the Bay, scroll to Professional Category, click on Bobby Likis Car Clinic for Best Automotive Service Shop and Best Oil Change. I'd appreciate your vote of confidence.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
Good morning, Car Clinic in Pensacola. I've been talking with you about your automobiles for over 25 years now, and I've been servicing vehicles here in my own automotive service shop for over 47. We've won Best Automotive Service Shop, Best Oil Change, and Best Reputation in Automotive Service, and the Torch Award for Ethics. And I'd be honored if you'd vote for my service shop again for Best of the Bay. Here's how. Go to pnj.com, click on Best of the Bay, look for the professional category, then click on Bobby Likis Car Clinic for Best Automotive Service Shop and Best Oil Change. 3 simple steps. Go to pnj.com, click on Best of the Bay, scroll to Professional Category, click on Bobby Likis Car Clinic for Best Automotive Service Shop and Best Oil Change. I'd appreciate your vote of confidence.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great program today. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Johnson Controls, the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries, which are built to power start-stop technology, backup cameras, entertainment systems, and all the other electrical demands of vehicles today. You can learn more at autobatteries.com. Now, let's go to Texas, take a call from Mike. Mike, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Hello.
Good morning, Mike. You're on the air.
Okay, I'm Lawrence. She misunderstood me. But thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, I've got a 17 Nissan Versa. And when I turn my heater on, let's just say if it's cold outside, it fogs up. And then if it's not real cold and I turn my heater on, I can turn just the heater part on, and it does fine. But if it's real cold outside, I have to keep my defroster on. And then sometimes, I was wondering if there could be the heater core, because sometimes when I get out of my car, I smell antifreeze. But I check it, and I've checked on it how many times, but I don't see it. It's not leaking on the ground. I go up on the hood and check to see if I can find any leaks or anything, and I can't find anything.
So
and I was just wondering if that could be my heater core.
Well, okay, yes and no. The description that you're providing for me, with the odor of coolant, which has its own little place in life, it describes perfectly a leaking heater core. But you say you haven't added any coolant whatsoever to the reservoir, and can you tell me if the coolant level is exactly as it was 2 weeks ago or a month ago?
Well, I added just a little bit.
Wait now. So you have had to add some coolant.
Yeah, a little bit. It wasn't that much.
Well, a little bit goes a long way. So, Mike, here's my question to you. Are you driving? Make sure that we have the right. What is your name? Because Mike is on the list up here.
Lawrence.
Lawrence. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know how Hannah got Mike. Doesn't make a difference. Now I want to know: is this a 2017 Nissan Versa?
Yes, sir.
Did you buy it new?
No, sir. It had 9,000 miles on it when I got it.
And where did you buy the car?
I bought it here in Marshall at one of the used car dealerships, because they have a dealership down in Louisiana, too, not far from Shreveport, Louisiana.
Well, the first thing that I would do is I would go back to how long have you had this car?
I've had it for about 7 months.
Okay. Well, do you have a shop that performs regular maintenance for you? Do you have a shop there in your local area that you trust?
No, sir, I haven't. No, sir.
Okay. Do you have a pen? I'm going to give you a website where you can find a shop in your area, because there's a test that must be performed on your vehicle, because what you're describing to me just begs to be a leaking heater core. I doubt very seriously the heater core is leaking, but you could have a hose or a water control valve or something there that. Okay, he's just getting a pencil and paper, I guess. Okay, Mike. Lawrence. Lauren. It's Lauren, I think it is. So here's the site. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. asashop.org, and like a service shop, ASA. And ASA stands for Automotive Service Association, of which I'm a proud member. And you go to, there in Texas, you go to asashop.org, and you put in your zip code, which obviously you know what that is, and 4 or 5 or 6 surrounding area shops will pop up, and you choose 1 or 2 that's close to you and convenient. And you call them before you go there, and you say, can you pressure test and my car? I suspect that there's, I smell coolant, I've got vapor on the windshield. Can you test this car? And then you'll have a connection, and that's what I'd recommend that you do.
All right.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for calling, Lawrence.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. So that's important to know. I just can't imagine a car with 9,000 miles on it having a heater core leak, but what I know. I only got 47 years in the business. 888-227-2546. I'm going to go to Mike in New York, but before I do, I want to go back to Oregon, because a couple of callers ago, we had a call from Oregon. Well, I want to reach out to Lee Busey in Gresham, Oregon. Lee called me this week, folks, to tell me he had found a 63 Ford Fairlane. Seems he heard me talking about my first new car and that I'd love to have it back. Well, that's true. He got me all excited, and he and I were on the phone, and we toured the dealership, not in Oregon, but in New Jersey, online, that had that car for sale. Unfortunately, that car was a Galaxy, big Ford, not a Fairlane, so it wasn't what Lee thought that it was, and it wasn't the car that I wanted, but it doesn't matter, because I really enjoyed talking with Lee last Wednesday, so I wanted to give a special thank you to Lee Busey in Gresham, Oregon, for thinking of me and finding that car. And folks, the car that I was specifically talking about was a 1963 and a half high-performance 289 Fairlane. Mine was red, of course, and it was a terrific automobile that I abused, and I wish I had it back. I would apologize and restore it. Okay, let's go to New York again. Mike, thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby.
Hey, sir.
I'm calling from Binghamton. How are you?
Fine, sir. How about yourself?
Good. Hey, 2014 Lexus GX 460. So 50,000 miles.
Okay.
In a flushed transmission.
Okay.
My question is, take a Lexus, have them flushed out, but normally you would drop the pan and replace the filter too.
Not
is
normally.
It necessary to do that?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. And here's the thing, and here's why. If you stay ahead of the curve, which means you don't wait until the transmission fluid is trashed and so oxidated that it turns into slime or into a dark, oxidized, burned fluid. If you stay ahead of that curve, the filters of today are not like the filters that they were of yesteryear. In other words, for instance, Chrysler had like a cotton filter, and on a good day, you service one of those cars, and the filter would restrict and stop up because it was like a cotton or a felt material. Today they use, for lack of a better word, a screen. There's not even a filter in there, and the screen allows a better flow, and the pan is is deeper and on a lot of occasions. So if there's any sediment, it settles and stays in the bottom of the pan. And what we use is on 99% of all of our pre-repair procedures, which is a transmission fluid exchange. We use a machine, and I'm sure the dealer did the same thing on your 14 Lexus, that exchanges the fluid as it travels out of the transmission in the cooling line, and as it goes out, new fluid goes in. So you get about probably 95% of the fluid is exchanged and does a great job. And if you do that every 50,000 miles, not only will you more than likely never have a transmission problem, well, I don't say never, but rarely, if ever, do you, and you'll stay ahead of the curve. And of course, I'm surprised that who decided that you were going to change the fluid on this transmission?
I did. I had told you a while back about towing the bolt on it last fall. It had been on 35,000 miles, and I only towed it twice to the lake and back.
Right.
But I'm kind of a little detailed on staying on top of this.
Well, I'll tell you.
I'll probably just have Lexus just go through every single fluid.
Yeah, I would. You're a man after my heart, because I will tell you that is the most proactive, inexpensive maintenance, and I hesitate to use the word maintenance because car owners think that maintenance, which, by the way, maintenance is incomplete because it's obsolete. And by that, we don't use the M word at my facility because most car owners, most consumers, forever, and today even, think that maintenance is changing the oil and filter every 5,000 or 3,000 miles. Oh, have you taken care of this car? And Mike, this is a loaded question that I've asked a lot of people. I'm giving away one of my secrets. I'll have someone call in with 150,000 miles or so on their vehicle, and they've taken it to a shop, and they want $2,000 to repair this, and this, and is it worth it, or what do you think? And is that a good price? The first question I ask, well, yeah, has this been a good car? And here's the catch. You'll get a kick out of this, and a lot of you folks, this is going to catch you right between the eyes. Has this been a good car? Yeah, Bobby, I've got 150,000 miles and never had it in a shop. And then there's a big silence there, and then they realize, wait a minute, I have not had it except for oil and filter changes. I've never had it in the shop for what you're doing here. So by all means, change those fluids. Stay on top of the fluids and the tire pressures and wiper blades and what have you, and you'll enjoy that car for miles to come. So you're on the right program there, and I really appreciate you calling today. Any other questions?
Yeah, real quick. When they changed the radiator fluid, I know they have additives that changed boiling point. Because when I tow with it or anything like that, will that be any benefit?
No, you're mistaken there. The additives the additives that we put in radiators do not affect the boiling point. The coolant, the 50-50 mix, controls the boiling point and the freezing point. The additives are for either conditioners, or there's another additive called water wetter, and it is an emulsant. Sort of like a water wetter, or Royal Purple has the same thing called Purple Ice.
That's what I found. Okay.
That's made to eliminate any bubbles that may be in the radiator. In other words, you know how you spray water on the windshield of a car and it bubbles off, and you have, or on a hood, and if you've got it waxed, you'll have little bubbles of water, and where the water is not, the hood will be dry, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, if the interior of your cooling system has bubbles, i.e., for every smidgen of surface area on the radiator, in the radiator, that has bubbles, that's not transferring heat from the coolant liquid to the metal part of the radiator to be dissipated by the cooling fins of the radiator to the air. So a water wetter dissolves or sheets and covers and makes all of the surface area. Okay, it's a surface tension reducer or eliminator. So if you sprayed, if you like Windex, if you took the hood of your car and sprayed Windex on one side and didn't on the other, and then sprayed it with water or ran water over it and waited, the Windex would be all sheeted, like when you put an applique, or like when you put in wrapping a car. You see where folks wrap a car, they use Windex or soap.
Right.
And then they squeegee it out, and it dries, and it is gone. So it's not really a bar soap. It's a water wetter, and that's the additive package. That's not necessary to use that in your Lexus. You can just use new fluid, and the new coolant will have its own additive packages, because coolant has to have the pH level right, and also there's some problems with voltage. But if you just change it and put regular fluid, and then there are some additives that we add that are conditioners, but they're not water wetters. But if you want to add a water wetter, it doesn't hurt anything in any car, period. You got it?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Bobby.
You're welcome.
Have a great
Thanks
day.
for calling. You as well.
Bye-bye.
Let's go to Stan. Stan, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for your call.
Bobby, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I just want to thank you on behalf of, I bet, a whole bunch of other folks for having those folks from Wheeler Dealer on this morning.
Yeah.
That is just a great catch to interview them, get to hear a little bit more of their story, just having talking to you. I so appreciate what you bring to us about all these interviews from impressive folks.
Well, I thank you, Stan. And to that end, my question to Ant Anstead there, and Mike Brewer, my question to him was just because you know this, how far do you go when you're repairing those cars? Because I can tell you, it's a loaded question, because if let's say a car needs a camshaft, well, you put cam and lifters. Let's say an engine is old, and you go in there and you're going to freshen it up, and you put timing chain and cam and lifters and what have you. What about the rocker arms? Well, oh yeah. What about the valve springs? What about the ends of the valve? So you're right. I love to hear that feedback, because it was a great opportunity for us to talk with Mike Brewer and Ant Anstead, the co-host and host of the Wheeler Dealers. And by the way, as you know, this Wednesday, the 11th rather, coming up, they're going to be on the Velocity channel. But hey, Stan, thanks for your call, and as always, good to hear from you.
And I used K-Seal this week, and I have no more drips coming out of my Miata.
Yay!
I appreciate you so much, my friend.
I thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Well, folks, that's about a wrap for today's Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'm going to go drive my car. No, I'm not going to go wash it. Why? Because it's raining. And the best thing that I have to say about that is my car has Bosch Icon wiper blades on it, which means I get a clean wipe every time. Next week, same time, same station, Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Time to replace your vehicle's battery? Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts for the Do It Right rebate. For a limited time, purchase a Superstart Premium, Extreme, or Platinum battery and get up to a $15 O'Reilly gift card by mail. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Coolant leaks can be expensive, with repairs costing a few $1,000s or more. And these problems often hit vehicles late in life when they may be only worth a few $1,000s. There is an alternative. K-Seal is a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Older sealers use sodium silicate, which has a tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Folgers Mountain